Hi folks, Josh Wolf with Wolf Vintage Watches here. Welcome to my shop. In this video, we're going to take a look at a Hamilton Thin-o-Matic T-501 from 1960. Let's get into it. If you're new here and are into vintage watches, please consider subscribing so you don't miss any of my weekly videos. And if you dig this video, please give the like button a click. Okay, let's look at some of the basic specs of the 1960 Thin-o-Matic T-501. The watch is 34 millimeters wide, excluding the crown. It's a little more than 39 millimeters tip to tip. It's 10 millimeters thick to the top of the domed acrylic crystal, and the lug width is 18 millimeters. The case and snap-on case back are stainless steel, and the crown is unsigned. I'll go into more detail about the movement later, but for now, it's a Swiss-made automatic, Burin-based Hamilton caliber 666. What makes this movement special is that it uses a micro rotor, but I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. Let's check out the outside of the watch first before nerding out about the inside. Hamilton introduced the Thin-o-Matic line of watches in 1959 using Swiss-made micro rotor movements in many of them. These movements allowed Hamilton to produce high-quality automatic watches as well as capitalize on the prevailing trend of thin watch cases. This Thin-o-Matic T-501 was one of the first models in the lineup and was made through 1961. The black-dialed version I have here was introduced in 1960. Hamilton used series numbers to indicate the case material used on their models. So, 200 series models came with a 14-karat solid yellow gold case, 300 series a 10-karat solid yellow gold case, 400 series used 10-karat yellow gold filled cases, 500 series stainless steel cases, and finally the 600 series watches came with a 10-karat yellow rolled gold plate case. The Thin-o-Matic line of watch names used a T- preceding the case material series numbers. So for example, a T-300 was a Thin-o-Matic with a solid 10-karat yellow gold case. The T-501 here is obviously a stainless steel Thin-o-Matic. The bezel of this case has a high polish along the bevel as well as the flat facet next to the crystal. The left and right sides of the case jut out and flow into the lugs, giving an almost shroud-like look to the watch. It's a detail that can easily be missed, but once you see it, it's really an outstanding subtle design decision that adds to the overall look and feel of the T-501. The original black dial is a total pain to film and take pictures of. It's a small price to pay for such an awesome dial, but still. The numbers and markers are embossed rather than applied. This means that the dial was actually stamped on the underside, raising the markers off the dial. The minute track is pearlized and so is also lifted off the dial. The handset on this watch is original with patina. I lightly cleaned them to remove the rust, but there's still some pitting visible. The loom is original and there's a small piece missing from the hour hand. I choose not to remove old loom and repaint with new for one main reason. I personally don't like the appearance of a vintage watch that has patination that also has brand new, bright loom. Again, for my personal taste, I much prefer having original loom that has aged along with the rest of the watch. That said, I completely understand why other collectors want to see new loom applied to the dials and hands, but it's just not my cup of tea. The dial is a gloss black with some awesome spidering to the finish near the center post. This spidering is a lot more prevalent in pictures and under a macro lens, but still very much adds to the character of the watch under normal viewing conditions. The curved Hamilton logo and automatic branding are painted. I'm happy to see that the paint is in excellent condition. All in all, this is a very simple and classic dial design. The 12 and 6 are numerals, the 3 and 9 o'clock markers are doubled up from the rest of the hour markers, the minute track is pearlized, and the gloss black dial has aged gracefully. I have this T-501 on a two-piece black leather strap with contrasting stitching and silver-toned buckle. Changing out straps on this watch is a breeze with the drilled lug holes. The high-domed acrylic crystal seals everything up. I get a kick out of the crystal being a little thicker than the height of the case itself. This super thin case is possible for an automatic watch because of the interesting Swiss-made movement under the hood. The movement in this Thin-o-Matic is a Hamilton caliber 666. It was supplied by the Swiss watch company Burin, which Hamilton purchased in 1966. The movement can be so thin while still being an automatic because the micro rotor sits on the same plane as the rest of the components rather than attached on top of the movement. In order to fit into the movement, the weighted rotor needs to be much smaller than the typical rotor seen in most other automatic watches. Despite being quite a bit smaller than its larger cousins, the micro rotor performs the exact same function. Namely, it winds the mainspring when it spins around. To improve the efficiency of the mechanism, the rotor winds the watch no matter which direction it is spinning. Like other Hamilton micro rotor movements, like the 620, the 628, and the 663, the 666 can be a little more difficult to service than the more traditional style automatic movements. Since the automatic works is integrated into the main plate, all of the parts are just that much smaller and packed in tightly, making reassembly during service a touch more tricky. But the added complexity pays off in the form of an extremely thin automatic watch. This caliber is time only with center sweep seconds. It hand winds and does not hack. I serviced this movement November 2020, and I'll be posting a video of that soon. Be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss that video when it comes out. You'll want to see how I nearly snatched defeat out of the jaws of victory while working on this little guy. Plus, the design of a micro rotor movement is just plain cool, and it's interesting to see how Buren crammed everything into such a small package. Click the playlist on the left to check out my reviews of other vintage watches. To see the Thin-o-Matic T-501 and many other watches I have for sale, head on over to wolfvintagewatches.com. As always, thank you very much for watching. Please remember to subscribe, like the video if you liked it, and leave your comments and questions below. See you next time. Bye.